Hey Cactus friends, it's Jenny from Cookies Cacti. We are now at the 44-week update of this Cactus Seed Soil Battle where we grew Astrophytum and Ariocarpus from seed, where we began with 6 different soils to grow the same number of Astrophytum and Ariocarpus, seeds that came from my own plant. And then about 10 weeks later, we added 6 more soils to this experiment. So we have a total of 12 different soils that we tried growing these cactus from seed, just to see which would do better. Believe it or not, we are only 2 updates away from reaching 1 year of growing that first tray of Astrophytum and Ariocarpus from seed. It's kind of frightening every time time comes into the picture because it's just passing too fast. So at 44 weeks, the one word that really pops into my mind is crowded. As you can see, for these soils that are doing quite well, the seedlings are becoming extremely crowded. When I look at this, it gives me some anxiety because I really want to split them up and give them some more space to grow, but I can't because I don't have enough of each of these soils to continue the experiment. Once they come out of the pot, that's the end of the experiment. So I'm going to hold out for 2 more months until we reach that 1 year mark, and then when the series ends, I can go and repot the things that need to be repotted. Because look at this. Some of these seedlings are getting squished into oblivion. Like, let me go get a pointer. I'll be right back. Thank you, James, for this suggestion. Oh, I have a pointer. You see that seedling right there? It's so squished. I actually really like the look of that seedling, and I hope that being squished doesn't affect it too much. We will see. Like, some of these seedlings that are squished on the edges like that, I don't know if they're getting pushed into some weird angle of growth because of the weird space, but what can you do? So I'm going to leave them for 2 more months and let them squeeze the heck out of each other. So at 44 weeks, I mean, at this point, I would say the past few updates, it's pretty much determined which soils are doing well and which ones aren't doing as well. And I think it's pretty obvious also on probably who the winner is. You know, we've said it almost from the beginning, so it's not too surprising. Let's go ahead and go through these Astrophytum first, like we have done for the past, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many episodes we've been doing this for. And then we'll go through the Ariocarpus and see how everything is doing at 44 weeks. I try to give some space to these very squished pots here, so there's a little gap between the pots just to give those edge plants a little bit of space instead of squishing into their neighbors. So let's start over here. We'll start with tray number 1 of the Astrophytum, which are now 44 weeks old. Let's start with the Uni-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix, which we all know has been performing the worst when it's just straight out of the bag. There's a couple of Astrophytum left in here, but they're really not doing well, and I don't expect them to make it all the way through. In the next pot, there's actually a few Astrophytum left. And in the third pot, there's more. I would say this one is growing pretty fast, but it looks kind of like, you know, it doesn't look full and plump. I don't understand why. But it is the largest of all of these seeds, or seedlings. The next soil is the Rob Romero mix, which again I would recommend that you go back to episode 1 of this series, where I go in detail over every one of these 6 soils that we started with, along with their cost as well. So this is the Rob Romero mix, where the native soil is my clay-based Arizona soil, which we had determined was probably not the best to use. However, when we go over tray number 2, where we tested that theory, I don't know. I don't think it's the clay that's causing it to underperform compared to the other soils. Like, once again, the numbers are pretty good, but the progress of the seedlings is definitely noticeably slower than the other soils. So here's one of the pots. I mean, the seedlings are doing okay. No, these are actually, they're pretty good. They look healthy. I mean, for the most part. But they're just so much smaller than their neighbors. Like this pot, look, it's very, very full. Germination was quite good. I would say seedling condition is also quite good. Just small. The next soil is the Uni-Gro Seed Starter with Uni-Gro Perlite, which I'd say did okay. In terms of seedling size, I mean, it's not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. In terms of numbers, it is lacking compared to the remaining 3 soils, but it's not bad. Seedlings look healthy. I don't know, I mean, to me, it's not bad. And the nice thing about the Uni-Gro Seed Starter and Uni-Gro Perlite is that, at least for those of us in the United States, it's very easy to find those materials, those bags, at pretty much all the big box stores. And it's not that expensive either. The next soil is Uni-Gro, straight out of the bag. And Uni-Gro did quite well. In terms of numbers, I mean, a couple of these pots look quite full. Third one, maybe not as much. Seedling development and size is pretty good. You can see the premium soils behind it. And I would say that it's not too far off. And Uni-Gro, at least in Arizona, is fairly easy to find. You can't find them at the big box stores, but you can find them at the local nurseries. And price-wise, it's pretty good, and it's definitely more affordable than the premium soils. And I would say the performance is quite good. But it's not the winner in this battle, I'd have to say. There's one two-headed guy right there. Oh, let me use my pointer. Right there. Two-headed guy. Then we have the 2 premium soils that I purchased off of Etsy. First is East Coast Kamanchaka. And from the beginning, East Coast Kamanchaka was out in front, like since germination. His soils did very well. You can see the numbers are really, really good. So I sowed 25 seeds per pot. There are 3 pots, so there would be 75 seedlings total if it had germinated 100%. And I think it's right around there. It's either 74 or 75 seedlings that are germinated and are still alive today. Numbers are great. Seedling growth progress is great. I know it's still 2 episodes away from declaring a winner, but I think it's pretty clear. Oh, look how squished they are. And look how amazing they are. How fun are these Astrophytum hybrids? They're so surprising, and it adds that extra element of excitement and fun because you don't know what you're going to get. And the last soil is the premium soil from Mike's Rare Plants. This is the Lofo Pro Seed Starter. And in terms of numbers, it's not as high as East Coast Kamanchaka. And I'm not really sure if it's as high as Uni-Gro either. On the last episode, I'll do numbers, one last set of numbers, so we can, get a sense of how many seedlings survived to this point for each of the soils. The thing about the Mike's Rare Plant soil, though, is that the seedlings are the largest. Might be kind of hard to tell, but like these seedlings in this pot are the largest out of all of the pots of Astrophytum. This one's looking pretty good. There's actually a 3-ribbed plant, trichostatum, but you never know if these will remain 3-ribbed. It might grow another rib later. I think there's a 4-ribbed one here, quadricostata, something like that. But again, who knows if it will stay like that or if it will end up growing more ribs. And then do keep in mind that the Mike's Rare Plant Lofo Pro Seed Starter came with not only the soil mix, but also amendments, which I added. It was the bacteria complex and the worm castings. And it's very possible that those amendments allowed these seedlings to kind of go on turbo in terms of size. But if I pan out here, this is Uni-Gro, East Coast Kamanchaka, and Mike's Rare Plant. Let me try to do it like this. I'm going to hold it for a moment, or you can pause the video just so you can see the difference between these 3 soils, or the results of these 3 soils. It's interesting, right? So those are the Astrophytum from tray number 1. Then what we did 10 weeks later was, because of some question marks over here from tray number 1, for example, the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix did so poorly, and also I had used the native soil for the Rob Romero mix. The question is, well, if we cut the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix down, how would it do? If I didn't use my native clay-based soil for the Rob Romero mix, how would it do? That kind of inspired tray number 2, in which we tested some of that along with some other mixes as well. So this pot is the Rob Romero mix, but using the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix instead of my native soil. And you can see that the seedlings, compared to their neighbors, are good numbers, but definitely not as developed as the seedlings in the other soils. And I do have some sunlight coming in the window, so hopefully that's okay. But even the Rob Romero mix and using Uni-Gro for the native soil component has kind of a similar performance. So I'm going to kind of pan out a little bit. These are both the Rob Romero mix, but this row is using Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix. This row is using Uni-Gro, and to me, they look pretty similar in terms of both number and seedling progress. So the slower growth rate of the Rob Romero mix, I don't think is caused by my native soil from tray number 1. I think it's caused by that mix. It has pumice and it has mushroom compost in it, and something about that mix gets good numbers, but the progress on the growth of the seedlings is noticeably slower. So we kind of debunked in tray number 2 the hypothesis that my native soil was bad. That's not necessarily true. The other thing we debunked, as we'll continue seeing, is that the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix does much better when it's cut with inorganics. So although these seedlings are smaller, we get a good number of them. I mean, compared to the pure Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix, it's way, way better. So the next thing we did was we used Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix, but we cut it with this Japanese bonsai mix, which is red lava rock, pumice, and akadama. And look how good it is doing. So the resulting mix looks a little bit closer to the East Coast Kamanchaka mix. Not quite, but it looks a little bit closer to that. And you can see it's doing pretty well. Pretty well. So we tried this same mix, but with Uni-Gro. So take Uni-Gro, cut it with the Japanese bonsai mix, and check how it does. And I would say that this mix, whether you use Uni-Gro or Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix, I don't think it matters. So now I'm going to pan out a little bit so you can see these are both the Japanese bonsai mix, but using Uni-Gro or Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix. And you can see that they're very, very similar. So this further proves that the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix is actually probably perfectly fine as long as you cut it with inorganics. And the nice advantage of that Cactus Citrus Palm Mix is that it's also very easy to find, and it's pretty affordable at your local big box stores, at least in the US. The next 2 soils in tray number 2 are just my experiments. So I did the Japanese bonsai mix, but using worm castings as the organic component. And surprisingly, like, the numbers aren't that great. This pot did pretty well. The overall numbers are not that great, but it's okay. It's not bad. Then 2 of the pots, the seedlings are growing not as fast as this pot. I have no idea why this is doing that. We were guessing maybe microclimate or something in the tray when they were getting started. Who knows? But if I kind of put this, in the same shot as the bonsai mix with Uni-Gro, I don't know, is there much of a difference? This pot, yes. But overall, is there much of a difference? Maybe not that much. And the last soil in tray number 2 is my adult soil mix, which is 75% pumice with 25% Uni-Gro. And I mean, yeah, there are seedlings that pot didn't do too well. There are seedlings and they're growing okay, but I would not pick this mix for growing at least Astrophytum from seed. It's almost like just using pure Uni-Gro does better than cutting the Uni-Gro down with just pure pumice like this. Maybe it needs some more organic matter, I don't know. So, oh, I forgot to say, tray number 1, 44 weeks old, and then I mentioned tray number 2 was started 10 weeks later, so they are 34 weeks old. And that's what they look like. So we didn't just grow Astrophytum from seed, right? We also did Ariocarpus, so I'm going to move over to my Ariocarpus tray and we will go through them as well. All right, we are here at the Ariocarpus tray, which is it's the same shelf as everything else. And let's just go through them one by one. These Ariocarpus seeds came from my own plants. So let's start with the tray number 1, 44 weeks old, Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix straight out of the bag. Did very, very poorly for Ariocarpus as well. There is one, I think there's actually 2 plants left in here. I was kind of digging around the top, the top dressing to see if I could find a second seedling, and I did. But the first one is, oops, right there. It's really hard to see, but it's right there. And there's a second one over here somewhere. Oh, maybe you can just barely see that little bit of green, pop of green. I doubt this thing is going to make it, but there are 2 seedlings left in here, but they're not doing so hot. I have a lot of respect for this seedling because it has managed to survive 44 weeks in this. The next soil is the Rob Romero mix. This is the one where I put my native soil in here, which is clay. And maybe it's kind of hard to see as usual because of their color. Numbers are actually pretty good. Just, again, the same comment, the development is just not as fast as the other soils, but the plants are still there and they're still alive. Next is the Miracle-Gro Seed Starter with Miracle-Gro Perlite, and you can see, should be pretty obvious, these Ariocarpus seedlings. Numbers are kind of okay, maybe not that great, but not bad, and you can see that the seedling progress is faster than the Rob Romero mix. But otherwise, the fact that these Ariocarpus are still alive is already, to me, pretty huge achievement. Next is the Mike's Rare Plant Lofo Pro Seed Starter. And you can see this dark stuff on top, so I had added the amendment probably before. I think the amendment had already been added in my last 40-week update. So that dark stuff or black stuff is worm castings. And then these white pieces that look like pumice, they're not. That's that bacteria complex. I haven't seen a noticeable change after adding these amendments to the speed of growth of the Ariocarpus. You can see the seedlings in there. They're still alive, but not a huge difference after adding the amendments. But who knows? You know, we'll check in again, you know, at 48 weeks and then 52 weeks, and we'll see how they're doing. Next is the Uni-Gro straight out of the bag, and I would say the Ariocarpus did pretty well in just pure Uni-Gro. So it's kind of consistent results with the Astrophytum, is that just Uni-Gro straight out of the bag is doing pretty well for growing these cactus from seed. You can see the Ariocarpus tubercles looking good. And the last soil in tray number 1 is from East Coast Kamanchaka. And it is clearly the winner. I mean, at this point, even for growing Ariocarpus, it did very well. Seedlings are progressing nicely. The numbers are good. I mean, what else can I say? Okay, next let's move to the seedlings from tray number 2, which again are 34 weeks old. We'll start with the Rob Romero mix with the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix as a native soil. There are plants in here, but they're really hard to see. Can you see them? Actually, you know, decent number of Ariocarpus. I can see the little, I don't even know what these are called. The little white things that are sticking off of the end of the tubercles. They're in here. Kind of similar performance for the Rob Romero mix by using Uni-Gro as the native soil component. I don't know if you can see these seedlings in here, but they're in there. Same comment, you know, less developed, but numbers are not too terrible. The next soil is the Miracle-Gro Cactus Citrus Palm Mix, but cut with the Japanese bonsai mix. And you can see that the numbers are not the best, but the seedling progress is better than the previous two soils. See those tubercles there? Next is Uni-Gro, but cut with the Japanese bonsai mix. And you can see the seedlings in here. I would say this Japanese bonsai mix cut with either Miracle-Gro or Uni-Gro, and it's about the same. But interestingly, I would say that Uni-Gro seems to do better just straight out of the bag than cutting down with stuff. But I mean, in the Astrophytum case, I don't know, cutting it with the bonsai mix seemed to be fine too. But I guess if you want to simplify things, there's nothing easier than just using a soil mix straight out of the bag. Next is the Japanese bonsai mix cut with, or using worm castings as the organic component. It's doing better than the raw Romero mix in terms of seedling development, but the numbers aren't that great. I would not pick this mix in the future, at least from what I'm seeing so far. And the last mix is my adult soil. Again, 75% pumice with 25% Uni-Gro. Also not a mix that I would pick in the future. You can see that there are seedlings in there. They don't look super happy. They're still alive, but they're just not as well developed as, let's say, one of these mixes. So that's the update on the Ariocarpus from tray number 1 and tray number 2 at 44 weeks and 34 weeks respectively. So I was debating whether I should talk about this or not, but I have decided to go ahead and talk about it. But with the series finale of this Cactus Seed Soil Battle at 52 weeks, I am thinking about doing a giveaway. And what the giveaway will be is I'm going to give away all the pots of the seedlings of the winning soil, which at this point we can almost declare that it's East Coast Kamanchaka. So all 3 of the Astrophytum pots and the Ariocarpus pot. So that means that we can have 4 winners for that final giveaway. There are some really cool seedlings in here, and by that point it's going to be like mid-November. So for those of you who are in colder regions, I probably have to go buy some heat packs. I've never shipped plants like this in that season before. I don't think it'll be a first experience. Yeah, so at the series finale, not now, at the series finale, I'll go over all the rules and the instructions on how to enter the giveaway. It's going to be exactly the same as my Midsummer Cactus Seed giveaway, but I'll have some additional pointers just to get over some of those humps that we found in that experience, but it will be the same instructions. Unfortunately, it means my international cactus friends won't be able to enter, but you know, what can we do about that? It is what it is. So I hope you enjoyed this 44-week update on this Cactus Seed Soil Battle seedlings in tray number 1, 34-week update for those seedlings in tray number 2. I will see you all back in another 4 weeks for the 48-week update, and then that will lead us to our series finale. So thank you all for tuning in. Take care. Happy growing. Bye-bye. Oh, that's her new favorite spot on the shelf by the 5-gallon water bottles in the garage. Cookie! Oh, Cookie. Oh, Cookie. Your seedlings are growing really well, Cookie. Are you happy? Oh, you're going straight to your food bowl. Good girl.